Thank you so much, Dr. Aliabadi. Thais June, I'm going to call you from here on, for accepting my invitation to be part of this talk series. And you have been an inspiration to me. I'm lucky to be one of your patients, and you have taken care of me like your own sister, like your own family member, like you do all your patients. You are world respected. You are loved by everyone. I mean, everybody just adores you because your presence and just the way who you are is truly one of a kind. And I'm lucky to also call you my friend. And you just exude goodness. And I'm lucky that you said yes to this conversation. Thanks for being here.
My God, thank you for having me. This is my first Instagram live, by the way. So if I don't know what to do with the buttons.
You're doing fantastic. You're doing fantastic. And you have someone very special with you. But before we get to her, her name is?
Coco. Coco. Her mom named her, but we call her Coco.
Tell us all about Coco June and how she entered your home. You know, you have 3 beautiful daughters who are all grown now. And now you have this beautiful, lovely baby.
You know, it's funny, for years when I tell my patients what the gender of the baby is, you always have a reaction. Once in a while, most of the time that reaction is reaction of excitement, joy, happiness. But sometimes when I say, oh, it's a boy or it's a girl, you know, the parents are shocked, maybe, you know, unhappy about it. And for years, for 20 years, every time a patient has a reaction like that, the next, you know, the way I respond to them is, you know, if you don't want that baby, I'll take this baby home. That's 20 years. So fast forward 3 months ago, I was a guest at the Dr. Phil show, and they wanted me to speak about drug use in pregnancy. And because of COVID, it was a Zoom call. So I was in my office and I get on this Zoom. I didn't realize at that point that the patient that they had, or the guest that they had on the show, was 34 weeks pregnant, who was Coco's mom. And she was using heroin, meth, and she was smoking, I think every 2 hours. And she had not received any prenatal care. So sitting in my office, I was shocked, you know, and they started talking about her medical history, how she had a fractured pelvis and all these other medical conditions. And as I was sitting and listening to this story, you know, it's tough to get into a prenatal care clinic that late in pregnancy. It's almost impossible. So I was very concerned. And I remember towards the end of the show, I texted the producer and I said, you know, no doctor on this planet will take this patient. I just want to make it very clear to you guys. She can't just show up at 34 weeks with this history. She's high risk. Why don't you send her to my office one day and let me just, you know, just check her and make sure this baby's okay. So she came to my office. She has a beautiful family. She came with her dad and with her stepmom and her mom. So the entire family came to my office. And I remember at the time she had an infection in her toe that really worried me because I was worried she was going to get septic. So I ended up admitting her from my office to Cedars-Sinai. And, you know, it's hard as a physician when you have patients walk into your office. It's hard to just let them go, you know, and myself, this patient has no chance without me getting involved. So I went to her room and I said, Teresa, which is her name, I said, Teresa, let's make a deal. I'll take care of you free of charge during this pregnancy, but in return, I want you to promise me one thing, that I'll switch you to methadone. I'll have the detox, you know, doctors involved, but you have to promise me not to use drugs. And she did. And she had a little mishap at Cedars, but after that, we didn't have an issue. And I found her a rehab center and we transferred her there, you know, switched her to methadone. She did great. She would come for her prenatal visits. And at around 38 weeks, which is 2 weeks before her due date, still at term, she went into labor and she came to Cedars and I did her C-section. And this beautiful baby was delivered. She was 7 pounds, 2 ounces, great Apgars. And mind you, before all this, we had the NICU team coming and this all told me this baby is going to have a lot of issues. This baby's going to go to the ICU. Average age of stay is about average Time of stay in the ICU is about 17 days, and she might need morphine because of the, amount of drug use in pregnancy. This baby didn't do any of that. So I remember I was in the operating room and the NICU team came down and looked at her and they were walking out. And I'm like, where are you guys going? They're like, this baby's fine. I'm like, no, 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 no. This baby's not fine. You guys are taking this baby upstairs. They're like, okay. So they took the baby up. After 2 days, they called me. They're like, this baby is doing great. We're going to send her to the pediatric floor. And I remember I would go round on Teresa, and then I would go to the floor to round on her. And sorry.
I know. I'm crying here too.
She was wrapped in her blanket in a bassinet in a room with no one in there. And I remember going to the nurse saying, this is not right. Someone needs to hold this child. You need to go in there and hold her. And the nurse looked at me. She's like, I have all these patients here. I can't just go and sit and hold a baby. And, because of COVID, we don't have volunteers. So it was a very difficult, experience for me to see a newborn. Usually we say do skin to skin, breastfeed, hold the, let the parents bond. And this baby was all by herself. So it was a very, it was a very difficult situation. Fast forward that Friday, I never round on Friday afternoons. That specific Friday, I went to the hospital to discharge her mom. And as I walked in, the social worker walked in with me. And she said, Dr. A, I don't know if you know, but DCFS is going to take the baby. And honestly, I've never been in this position when I'm patients being taken away. But it had been, a while. So I spoke with the social worker, and with the social worker, we went in the room to see Teresa. And basically, sorry, let me wipe my
hands. That's okay.
And the three of us, when we were talking, and the social worker was telling her mom that, DCFS was going to take her to a foster care. And I remember talking to this, I interrupted her and I'm like, no, 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 I've worked so hard for this baby. I need to know where this child is going. You can't just grab this baby out of our hands. I need to know who the foster parents are. And she looked at me, she's like, it doesn't work that way. You don't have a say. So as she was talking, I looked at her, as I've done for 20 years. I said, well, can I take this baby home? And she looked at me, she whispered in my ears, she's like, yes. And I remember looking at her, I'm like, wait, you decide? She's like, I don't decide, but I can tell you, if you want to take this baby home, you can take this baby home with obviously the mom's permission. And obviously, Teresa looked at me and she's like, I would love for, my doctor to take this baby. At least I know she's going to get, she's going to be safe, and I know who the family is. Long story short, and I made a deal with Teresa. Again, I said, I will take your baby and I will take care of her like my own, but you have to promise me you will take this time to take care of yourself and clean yourself up. And she promised. So thank you. So I got a phone call that night from the Department of Child Services, and they asked the names and they did a background check. It was over the weekend. And I remember on Monday afternoon, they called me. They're like, you can go pick up the baby. And I was like, wait, what? It doesn't usually take months. They're like, no, 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 you can go pick up the baby. So the next morning, I go with my husband. We went to the hospital. I didn't have Maha. Let me give this baby because I think she wants it. She's
so cute.
The diaper, before she goes, I'll have you guys look how cute.
Hi, Coco Gina Ziba. Look at those cheeks. You're adorable, girl.
That you bought her. So thank you.
Looks so cute on her. Good night, baby girl. Sweet dreams.
So, I remember, so I called a friend of mine. I'm like, I don't even have a car seat. So I borrowed a car seat and we went to the hospital, picked her up. I remember the most magical part of this story is my husband and I, we were we come up the driveway, we park, and I look at him. I'm like, you take the baby in. I'm going to run to Target and I'm just going to buy everything for her. I swear to you, my sentence was not even finished when an Amazon truck pulls in. And the guy comes out and he's like, you guys have a lot of boxes. And I couldn't figure out what was happening. And he starts unloading box after box after box. And we open it, all baby items.
Wow.
A very fancy crib. Yeah, all like with the vital signs checked, and from to a cappuccino maker, I call it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
When I was raising kids, and basically clothes, blankets, pacifiers, diapers, formula.
The whole sismoni, as we say yeah.
I couldn't even figure it out. So I remember calling my office, and at the time I had this angel of a patient who was pregnant in the hospital on bed rest, and her husband. I mean, this couple, Mariam and Edwin, the nicest people on the planet. I really think they went and duplicated their registry and sent.
What a beautiful gesture.
I swear, she's 8.5 weeks. My husband and I have not bought one item for her.
Wow.
And her bunch of clothes yesterday. As soon as she ran out of 0 to 3 month clothes, I mean, people have been so generous. I have Enfamil giving us formula. People sending, I have gifts coming from Ukraine. I have so much. When people say, can we give Coco something? I'm like, no, Coco has everything.
Oh, this gives me goosebumps. This is so special.
So,
and I mean, she's truly a symbolic message to how when 2 people, 3 people can come together to make something right, to be there for one another. Teresa's mom, is so lucky to have crossed paths with you. This whole circle of giving and being kind to one another. This is, Coco is at its center, and it's so beautiful. And I'm so honored that you shared her story like this, first time on Instagram Live with me here and with our audience here. And your 3 daughters have embraced her like their own sister. So
when we brought her home, she was withdrawn from heroin. So she was literally shaking every second. And it was heartbreaking because I was not used to it. My children were not used to it. And, and I have the nicest husband on the planet who was very supportive. I agreed to bring this child home without even discussing it with him. Mm-hmm. I remember coming home and telling him, I walked in and I'm like, I did something. He's like, what'd you do? I'm like, well, we're kind of going to have a baby here next. What? Now, I mean, he's worse than my children. He's so obsessed. My children, my husband, everyone. I mean, I sometimes tell them, put a schedule on the wall because everyone wants to
hold her.
And the first couple of weeks, I think between the 5 of us, we did, including my 8-year-old, we did 14, 16 hours of skin to skin with her. I think that's the only reason her twitches and her withdrawal without needing. So right now she's about 13 pounds. She's thriving, we give her so much love. And my dream, we FaceTime with her mom on a regular basis. And my personal dream would be to, hand her to her mom one day and put her in her arms because that's where she belongs.
And she's going to be extra, nurtured and loved. And Teresa is ready, I'm sure, one day soon to have that. But it's going to be a tough transition, I'm sure, for all of you. But she'll always be part of your lives. And especially now that your daughters essentially have started this nonprofit in her honor, Coco's Angels nonprofit. So, again, being exemplary parents, exemplary individuals, you pass this on to your children, to the next generation, and so forth. I'm sure your daughters have seen your incredible work giving back to the community. And when something like this happens, they come up with this amazing, amazing idea. So let's talk about a little bit about Coco's Angels nonprofit effort.
And yeah, I mean, I'm so beyond proud of them beyond proud of them, and words can't express my gratitude for having these children under my wings. But they came up with the idea. We had, after I had Coco, when she came to our home, I was not familiar with this process, but there's so many people that come to the house to visit. They come, they check your home. There's another person to do background check. There's another person that's for mental health. There's a social worker. There's another social worker. I mean, we had so many people come through the house. One of the social workers that came through from Guardians of Love, her name is Reina. And she started talking to us and she said, it's really sad this year because of COVID, our donors have not donated any money. Our children in Los Angeles can't get their Christmas gifts. And I remember sitting with her, I'm like, that's easy. Just give me your list. I'm going to buy them their gifts. There were 250 kids on that list. And when I looked at they had top 3, wishes. They wanted AirPods and fancy doll houses and roller skates and rollerblades. And I'm like, okay, I can't do this. So my children came up with this idea of starting a charity and basically supporting these foster kids during the holiday. So they asked me to do a GoFundMe, obviously, because they couldn't do it by themselves. So I did a GoFundMe. I had my staff help me with it. And I remember I posted it, and within 20 minutes, my assistant came into the room. I was seeing patients. She's like, "Doctor, you're already at 10,000." And I was like, wow, I didn't even know how much money I needed for these. So fast forward, till today, we've raised over 50,000, all from my patients and friends and family. I mean, I can't tell you how much love this little baby has brought into our home. A couple of nights ago, my husband looked at me. He's like, I never thought it would be possible to have more love in our home, but Coco brought like this amazing energy. So on on the 21st and 22nd, with the money that was donated, we rented a bus, and we had Marketing Studio LA decorated for Christmas, and we basically dressed as elves, bought all these gifts, packaged it, and
your house was Santa's workshop. I was watching you through the steps, and that was so lovely that you guys did that.
So much work. And basically for 2 days straight, from 8 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, we would go home to home with music blasting. We would stop this truck on the street with Christmas music blasting. All the neighbors would come out. Everyone was dancing.
Oh, special.
We hand delivered these gifts, and I cannot tell you the look on these children's eyes. I mean, we're so blessed. I look at my children, I look at the life they live, and you go to these homes, and some of these homes, these parents had 6 foster kids. Come out, all 6 of them would be the same size. Like 6 girls would come out of one house. I couldn't, and I would tell my husband, I'm like, we make such a big deal out of raising our own children, and here are these angels with very limited means that are just
taking care of these kids.
It's pure magic. So now my kids are very motivated. They're already planning Easter for all the foster.
Love it.
Coco's Angels is gonna be busy.
Well, I would love to talk to your girls when they're available next time, and keep everyone posted on how everybody can support them. I'll make sure to post tag the profile so everybody follows. Everybody follows Dr. Aliabadi. I'm sure they'll get it through her as well. But what we can do in this world is just be examples to the next generation and how they can give back and do amazing things like you have been, and they take it up a notch and then some, like your children are. And with the foster children, as you mentioned, they typically would go to a central location to get their gifts. But here, I think you did something even more special, going to their homes like Santa would to deliver the gifts. So,
and I just want to add that I think Teresa, Coco's mom, is watching this live with her, with Coco's grandparents. And I just, I always thank them for sharing their little baby with us. And it was really our privilege to have her. And I thank them every day. My children are so obsessed. They walk around and they tell me, Mommy, Coco is the most beautiful baby on this planet.
And she is.
And I think they really are going to have a really rough time when, you know, she
well, Coco is going to always have her three big sisters, whether they're under one roof or not. So thank you, Teresa, for giving us gift of Coco, who's going to give through her energy and through her presence in this world, is going to give to so many more children. And, you know, that's why we can't take everything that happens to us in life. We cannot take it for granted. Even sometimes if they're not good things, we can turn it around and make it a positive thing, especially when we have, you know, people like, you know, you walk through someone's life. And, you know, so many of these incidences happen, Dr. Aliabadi, I think, and sometimes we don't take notice of that opportunity, of that chance to make a difference or change that situation. And you know, you did that certainly. Your wish came true after so many years of giving birth to those babies who you want to take home with you in a, you know, sweet, kind way. So here we are with Coco's Angels.
Yes. And so that's all I have to share about Coco.
That was a lot. That was a lot of amazing things you shared. And I'm again honored that you did this on this platform and with me. And I can't wait to hopefully one day meet Coco June in person. And I'll follow up with the girls and see if they want to come on here and share their views of this experience and then how we can support them. You know, children are such important part of this world and the future of the world. And that's probably the most important sector of society we need to support the most and give love and affection to, especially as we go through this pandemic. And it's not something that's happening locally in one area. It's really happening to all children and all humans around the world. So right now is the time to do more of these kinds of gestures and efforts around us. So thank you again for being one of those exemplary ones in this world.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I did my first Instagram live.
Yay! I'm so lucky you did that with me.
For months and months and months.
You did it very well and you went right on and we made it happen. So I'll be sure to download this video and post it and tag in Coco's Angels and all that stuff so we can have more people support you through this. And Teresa June, as we say in Persian, June, can't wait to meet you as well, and hope that you get well very soon and you're being united with Coco and you guys continue being this incredible family unit that you have become so beautifully.
Thank you.
All right. Have a happy new year. And this was a beautiful way to wrap up 2020 for me personally. And I can't wait to see you, Doctor.
Take care. Love you.
Love you more. Thank you so much for all that you do.
Take care.